Hey guys, it's Mr. Remedies with today's mini lesson. Today is our final lesson in our unit about historical fiction. And boy, I don't know about you guys, but I've really enjoyed these lessons and diving right into what is, like I've said in the past, one of my favorite genres of fiction. Let's finish up strong. Y'all have been awesome. Let's dive right into it. Today, as you can see on your screen, we're talking about how historical fiction writers use the past to give us a message that we can apply to today. So they're going to use a message in the past that we can apply today, 2020. All right. Let's see exactly how that happens. As always, we have some success criteria and some learning goals, and we're going to get to those right after a sweet transition. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our learning goal is here on our screen. We are learning that messages in historical fiction can be applied to our own lives, to other people's lives, or to society today. Okay. Our success criteria are just 2 I can statements today. Like, I can identify a story's message, which is very important to do. And this is a real great skill to have, is I can apply that principle to the present day. All right. If you can do those 2 things, I think you've done just a bang-up job on getting this learning goal today. Let's go over a couple of things before we move on to some examples. First and foremost, sweet transition. Look at that. I want you guys to think on this. I have a little bit of a secret from you, and I'm going to get in close so nobody hears. I'm going to get in, some would say, awkwardly close to the camera. All right. I want you guys to know you're not the first human being on the planet. You're not. There are other people around, and there were a lot of people before you for a long time. So remember that as we read. Okay? You're awesome. Keep doing you. All right, with that secret out of the way. And it's weird to think you guys are all unique in your own special way. And I love that about being a human being. I love that about my students. However, none of us are the first human beings on the face of the planet. So even though I may have emotions and I may have stuff I'm dealing with in my life, and you may have experiences and stuff you're dealing with in your life, they are not entirely the first time that someone has ever dealt with a similar situation, okay? The kiddos that lived 2,000 years ago, they had some stress in their life. They had some fears in their life. They had some goals in their lives, and although those details may have been different, they still had hopes and dreams and whatnot. They still had stresses and whatnot. And so I want you to keep that in mind, that people have been on this planet for a very long time, an incredibly long time. So please remember that as we read historical fiction, and think that in general terms, the human experience and the human emotions have been felt by many people many times ago. All right, so let's move on to some quick vocabulary, just in case we have forgotten. Let me get out of the way. Whoopsie. All right, so let's remember real quick that the message of a story is what the author wants us, the reader, to learn. Okay, and the message isn't often stated. It's not a direct statement like, "Hey, reader, this message about never giving up and always believing in yourself." Now, books, especially fiction stories, rarely do that. That's where our good reading skills come in handy, okay? So we always want to be aware and be trying to process and find what the message of a story is. And I think you guys are A+ at that. I want you guys to ask yourself, what is the author's message? What do they want me to learn from the story? So we'll start with good old The Glorious Flight. If you remember our buddy Luis Blériot, still can't say that name, but you know who I'm talking about. If you remember that story, it was a story where Mr. Lewis wanted to build an airplane and fly across the English Channel. He tries many times without success. He builds planes, he builds aircraft that kind of crash and burn a little bit. They kind of have some malfunctions, or they don't stay up in the air very long. But finally, he builds an airplane that works and becomes the first person to fly across the English Channel. What is the author's message here? What do they want me to learn from the story? I think that it's maybe to be persistent, to reach your goals. I think it's to keep trying even when things go wrong. Okay, those are two very important messages from The Glorious Flight. So now, how does it apply today? Okay, if the message is be persistent to reach your goals, I want you guys to think to yourself, well, I have goals in my life in 2020. Maybe like my goal is to be an astronaut. So I need to apply being persistent to a statement like, I need to work hard in school so I can be an astronaut when I'm older. Right? Let's look at another example. So I want you to ask yourself, what is the author's message in The Buffalo Storm? What are they trying to teach me? So remember, a buffalo storm is a young summary is a young girl leaves her grandma behind as her and her family make a long journey across the United States. She doesn't want to make the journey, mostly because she is scared of storms and buffalo, but eventually overcomes her fear. Okay? So what might a message for this story be? What do you guys have out there? I think one of the messages might be it's okay to be afraid sometimes. Fear is a natural human emotion, and I think it's okay to have that sometimes. Right? How does that apply to our lives? Man, sweet transition. Right? Maybe it applies today as you're thinking, I really want to go on vacation with my family. They're going to Six Flags, but I'm really scared of roller coasters. But I have to say, it's okay to be scared of roller coasters. I can still go with them, even though I'm scared of roller coasters. I'm working towards overcoming that fears, and I think that's a great thing. All right. Let's move on to a little bit of review, so that way y'all can move on to practicing independently today. All right, guys, let's move on to a short little review. First things first, that we have learned that although details may change, human emotions have been around for a long time. Right? And because of that, although set in the past, historical fiction stories often have messages that we can apply in our own lives. Right? And if we can do those things, I think that we can really dive into historical fiction and really get just the maximum value and enjoyment out of those stories. Right? I've been Mr. Remedies. This has been our unit on historical fiction. I will see you after the break. Adios, guys.